Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me as he does every week from TheRinger.com is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
What's happening, Verno? It's Friday.
Yeah, we didn't have that busy of a week in the NBA by virtue of election night being on Tuesday night, and there were no games that night. And so most teams just played a couple of games, but we certainly had enough to love and loathe the week that was. Before we get into everything that we loved and loathed throughout the week, a special loathe at the very top for the injuries that have hit us this week because good grief. We have had, we're wait and sees, hopefully everything's going to be fine as the weeks go on with two top picks a couple of years ago and Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. We know for sure we had already done last week where we lost Paolo. This week, we got the news that Tyrese Maxey is going to be gone for a long time. And while Embiid, we finally have a date on his return, Maxey is going to be out for an extended amount of time. And as we've said many, many times, with any of these soft tissue things, it's virtually never sooner than they say, and almost always longer than they say. It's just very hard to trust. And so Maxey got some bad news. We also had Aaron Gordon get bad news. Yep. He's going to be out for an extended amount of time with Denver. AD got banged up this week. I went to a Memphis Lakers game that he was not available in, and it gets pretty bleak when he's not in that lineup. And so here's hoping that as these weeks go on, we're not seeing one of these every week. We know that injuries can dictate the outcomes of not only regular seasons, but certainly by the time we get to the playoffs, it's a war of attrition. But geez Louise, it feels like we just started. We're just 10 games into the season, and we got some big names already down for extended amounts of time, which is and these guys too, right? Everybody now is trying to hit the 65 games, and it puts those in peril for some of these guys for sure.
I mean, we've discussed the Paolo one at length, which is the most devastating because he does so much for that Magic team. But when you look at the Maxey injury and the Embiid suspension and Paul George just coming back, you just have to wonder how many games are these three going to play together? Like, it feels a little bit like the Brooklyn Big Three. It's like, when are we going to see all three of them on the court at once? Because when you have, like I always say, like the odds, the 1, 3, 5, they've got a superstar at the 1, 3, and 5, and I want to see them together. And it does make me think a little bit back to the Knicks postseason last year when everyone's saying, oh, Tibbs is playing too many minutes and everybody gets hurt, but the injuries weren't exactly sort of like fatigue-based injuries, but you wonder if the workload that Maxey had to take on night after night because PG and Embiid weren't available had something to do with this injury. You have to wonder that.
It's fair. I mean, he was leading the league in minutes when this happened, and obviously there's no night that he can just kind of set it up for everybody else.
No.
He has to go big every single night, and so it's a lot of minutes and a lot of pressure on his plate. Clearly he didn't have enough to be able to do it all by himself. And now you have to wonder, this is a team that we certainly looked at the beginning of the season, and we said, this is one of the ones that, okay, you can always have this caveat of if they're healthy, but we always at the beginning of the season assume health. And if we assume health, this is certainly on the short list of title contenders. It now, you're in real peril of being way behind the 8 ball, like they were last year.
They were a 7 seed last year.
And then you're having to play on the road. First, you're having to play your way in, and you might just catch a team on a heater on a given night. Then once you get in, you're playing on the road the rest of the time, which is very, very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. And that's if you're healthy by that time and your guys are able to play. Because here's the other thing we know, Jacoby. The beginning, it's all spaced out, which this has always seemed a little backwards to me, but whatever. It's all spaced out at the beginning. When then we get into the playoffs and these guys are playing every other day. So it's like not only do the games come one after another, it now puts that pressure. It's even more pressure to be able to stay healthy throughout a playoff run when you're playing more games in a short amount of time than you typically are. And so that was always going to be the question, but damn, man, they can't even make it through the first month of the regular season. This was a question we thought we were going to be talking about in April and May. We're talking about it in November. Brutal.
And
brutal.
Remember Embiid saying that he wanted to be healthy for the playoffs and he was focused on championships and not individual awards and all of that. Well, man, like, is he even going to be ready after the suspension? I assume so.
And the other thing, Jacoby, he gave them, because of their crazy record when he did play last year, he gave them breathing room even last year to be able to still just get in the mix and try to be as healthy as we can. This year, that doesn't exist. Like, they're going to need him in order to win games at all.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
I didn't expect to see this much Andre Drummond in my life. I did not.
Neither did he, obviously.
Yeah.
If you've seen Andre Drummond, he didn't expect this either.
He should have gotten more money.
Buddy. All right. Things that we loved and loathed throughout this past NBA week.
Hold on, Verno, before we get to that.
Oh.
There's something that we need to address. Do you know the player in the National Basketball Association that has the highest true shooting percentage? 79.6 true shooting percentage.
Zach Edey.
Nope. Close.
All he does is dunk.
Jay Huff.
Oh, the backup center.
Huff Hive is
the
here.
Huff Hive.
If for all of your Huff dates, come to the mismatch. We will give you Huff dates. But let me tell you, to have the highest true shooting percentage and to shoot from the outside like Huff does is pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Small sample size, fair, but still the highest true shooting percentage in the National Basketball Association, Jay Huff. Here's your Huff date.
And big revenge for him against Los Angeles earlier this week. A team that discarded him, and now he has made a home. Had 11 points in about 2 minutes. Came in, knocked down 3 threes, and then had a putback reverse dunk. And I
putback reverse?
Oh, he only reverse dunks.
What?
He never dunks facing the basket. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. Go watch his dunks. They're all reverse dunks. It's the craziest thing.
I feel like in the 90s, we saw a lot more reverse dunks in game action, and we just don't see it anymore. You don't see reverse dunks anymore.
No, he virtually only reverses. I would say 90% of his dunks this year are reverse dunks. He's the craziest player ever. And there's this big article locally today about, he's so proud of his wife. And he said he had no game in college, but he saw her and she was 6'2", and finally they ended up talking, and then 2 years later they got married, and now he's moved her all over the country, with this whole pursuit of, the G League stuff, and then he's playing Summer League for Utah, and then he's doing this, and then he's doing that. And he's like, but I want to highlight her. And he's like, she's an amazing artist. And she has this art website, and guess what else she does? She does custom shoes. So if you ever see him, he wears. Watch next time you see him come into a game. Look at whatever shoes he's wearing, because a lot of times she paints shoes, and she's done them now. Yeah, and the word's gotten out, and she's done them for NBA players and stuff. It was a cool article, because I was like, how cool is that? His wife. I did
not expect this level of detail on the Huff date.
How crazy is that? He's the world's most interesting man. They call him the Hoonicorn because he played at Virginia. He only reverse dunks and shoots threes, and his wife makes custom Air Force Ones. It's awesome.
I love him.
The whole thing is awesome.
I love him. All right, now that we got the Huff date out of the way, we can get into it.
All right, you want to start or you want me to?
You start.
All right, we're going to go team first.
Yep.
Okay, I want to go ahead and set this aside real quickly and give my honor. I'm going to get the honorable mention out of the way. Because there's somebody that I was going to choose, which is the Phoenix Suns. They've made me look good at the beginning of the season with my prediction for them. Booker hasn't even gotten going
No.
at a high rate yet. And Durant has been off the charts. Beal has been very efficient so far in the 6 games that he's played. It looks like they've got a direct hit on Dunn, a guy that is already a viable, efficient rotation player for them.
Defensive player. Offensively, he hasn't exactly popped off the screen, but defensively, he's a stopper. And when you have Beal, Booker, and KD on your team, you're fine on offense.
And the Tyus Jones thing has been exactly what I thought it would be.
Yep.
And so a lot of it, like last year, they were by far the worst fourth quarter team in the entire NBA. If you got them in a close game going into the fourth quarter, you were winning the game. And it seems like there's been a sea change with that, and they look very, very good. So I did want to at least mention them because I'm going with Sacramento. So we covered it earlier. Yeah, we talked, and here's why. Because on Tuesday's show, I went out of my way, after this is the Miami game winner, I went out of my way to highlight Sabonis. And I said, this guy might be the most underappreciated. People ding him because I guess it's not that exciting. He's not a highlight factory by any means.
Not at all.
But then he backs me up and I said, you go look at his game log. This guy is never bad. It's the craziest thing. He never has these bad games. And so then I go on. And what does he do, Jacoby? Now, he should have been my player, but he couldn't get the player vote this week. So I'm making them my team. But it's on the back of Sabonis because he turns around after we do that show and has 17 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists on 6 of 6 shooting and becomes the only player in NBA history to have a triple-double with no turnovers and no missed shots in a game. Now, they started the season they lost by 2 to Minnesota, and they lost by 4 to the Lakers. Great, great game. Their only other game that they've lost was the Drake intimidation game as he was standing there in his oversized coat the night that they did the whole Vince Carter deal, right? That was but their losses are 2, 3, and 4. And then this week, they had the game winner against Miami on the putback after Hero got the stop against DeRozan at the end, and then got it back in blood against Toronto, and Sabonis had that huge game. And so I think they're just one to pay attention to. They dropped those 2 early ones, but they haven't played. Nobody's run them out yet. Now, no. I may be jinxing them, but your losses are 2, 3, and 4, and you've got a guy. Part of why they're consistently good every night is because they've got this guy that is consistently good every night. And, man, when you're watching them, close that game, even against Miami earlier in the week, it's geez, you got 2 guys that are better options than what? 90% of the league to give the ball to, at least. I mean, it's you want to talk about guys that can get their own shot. They got a little tweaking to do, probably going to need a little more size, but I like that Sacramento team, and I think they're back to everybody was all part of that Light the Beam team a couple years ago. Then I think people kind of got bored with them last year, but they're a consistently fun watch. And so I'm putting them in. If I want to watch a fun basketball game, I like the way they play, and I like the players that they've got. Monk comes off the bench and could get on a heater or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I just like that team, and I think it's they're for bang for the buck. I feel like I can tune them in, and I'm going to enjoy it.
You are, and they're in close games all the time. And the Sabonis performance was so impressive to me. To not miss a shot, that happens. But to have 13 assists and 0 turnovers.
Crazy.
I mean, and to be a big and have 13 assists, and this is regular for him. He gets assists. He's a playmaker and he's a shot maker, and it's never fancy. It's never a highlight. John Morant's going to be the most popular, most viewed player on Twitter, and for good reason. You won't see Sabonis on there, but you'll see the stat line. And to have no turnovers and 13 assists is just so impressive. They're they're going to be a playoff team, and they're going to be a very tough out. And they've just sort of, it's broken bad for them the last couple playoffs, which is why I think people sort of discredit them and overlook them. But they're a very good team.
I mean, they just got done in by one of the greatest Curry performances ever.
Yeah.
When they and Fox's hand was all screwed up by the time they got to that point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that was a great series too. That was a fun series to watch. That Warriors Kings a few years ago.
So I'm glad you brought up the Curry performance. If you were to tell me my team that I love this week is it's obvious. It's right there. It is the Golden State Warriors. And if you were to tell me that the Golden State Warriors would have the best record in the Western Conference, tied obviously, at this point, and Curry would miss 3 games, and that they beat the Celtics the way they beat the Celtics, and it wasn't just a Steph Curry thing. That is what's been so impressive to me about this start for the Warriors, is what they've done without Curry. And with Curry, he's not scoring 45 points. He's not scoring 35 points. This is a team effort, and their bench has been so impressive. Obviously, a lot has been covered about Steve Kerr playing 79 players a night, which is fine or whatever, but like what they're getting from Peyton, what they're getting from Slow-Mo, and what they get from Chavano. Chavano has been so important for them. I mean, they're going to have to start Chavano at some point. Like they absolutely do. But they have the second best defense in obviously, rating, and the third offense. Their offense is 120 points per 100 possessions. And it's not just Steph Curry standing on his head. And I think their defense is so good, and I hate to say it, is because they don't have Chris Paul and Klay Thompson. They've got young, athletic defenders. And Looney's been playing well as well. Like this is the team that has outplayed my expectations for them more than any other team so far this year.
There's no question they have outplayed expectations thus far. And, they've even had some guys like they're going to get Melton back in the mix, who's also an outstanding defender and can certainly give you some minutes off the bench. I mean, they're playing all these guys, so many guys that are getting 15 minutes a game for them. And the defense has been the most impressive by far.
Really?
The other thing is, you go back in time. I remember there was this baseball team years ago, and I brought on this baseball analyst on my show, and he was talking to me, and he was like, I was like, why is this team good? I can't even remember who it was anymore. And he was like, they don't have anybody that sucks. And it stuck with me, and then I started talking about it on this show, and I was like, sometimes it can be so. How many guys do you have to play somebody that sucks? Do you? And not only do they not have anybody that sucks, they've got 13 that are good.
Yeah.
Like if you said who sucks, there's no answer with the Warriors. And so I start to wonder, is this kind of like, are we seeing the new money ball, right? In this age where guys are getting paid 50, 60, 70, 80 million dollars, right? And then you don't have any choice if you've got the mega superstars than to have some players that suck, and then you got to play them, and then it costs you.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, they decided not to pay Klay. They've got, Draymond's not making $100 billion. Obviously, you got the one guy, and it's not like, look, they're going to be a luxury team, and they got to still pay out a lot of money. But the way they built it, rather than, is it better to have one super awesome guy, or sometimes it might be 5, it might be 6 guys that you could have instead, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Paul George or the entire Golden State bench, right? Like that's the choices now.
Probably the Golden State bench.
Right. These are the choices that are being made. And so it's something to keep tabs on.
Is assists per game. They've got they're third in assists per game. They're shooting 40% from 3. And I got obsessed with this Chavano thing. So I did a little research. I saw an interview with Chavano. Buddy Hield's name is Chavano, so I'm calling him Chavano from here on out. I saw an interview with his mom. Jackie Swan, her name is. I love his mom so much. She was in the kitchen doing the interview. And I know whatever she cooks is good. Do you know Chavano's siblings' names? I'm going to tell you what Chavano's siblings' names are.
Please.
Chavano, Jackie was just getting started with Chavano. Chavez, Pepper, Janaya, Curvin, Vezi, Nene, and Coco. I mean, what a family.
That's amazing.
I mean,
respect it. I respect it.
I love it so much. I mean, Curvin, I've never heard of anyone named Curvin before. Chavano and Curvin and Pepper and Nene. I love it so much. I love the Hield family so much. I'm all in on Chavano this year.
I respect it. You know, years ago, there was this player at I used to do this bit where it was the college football players, like all name team. And there was a guy that played at Cincinnati, and his name was Silverberry Muhan. Right?
Oh,
and I was
Silverberry.
And they were like, yeah. And his brother's on the team too. And I was like, oh, I can't wait. What's his brother's name? Kevin. So I respect this. I respect Buddy Hield's family. She just went all out with all of them.
All of them.
I was like, can you imagine being Kevin Muhan, being like, hey, there's my brother Silverberry. I mean,
Silverberry.
Yeah, Silverberry and Kevin.
My wife is pregnant, so Silverberry's going on the list.
There you go.
Silverberry Jacoby.
Silverberry Jacoby.
It's going on the list.
I like Pepper.
Pepper's good. Curvin, I love. And Vezi, Vezy, Vezi. There's great names.
On a quick side note, how did you do your kids' names? Did you get, how much say did you have in kids' names?
It was a collaborative effort.
It was.
Yeah. But we have a Margot. We have a Margot, right? And my wife is named Joey, but it's really Joie. It's like French. She's not French, but whatever. So Margot was not at all. She's Jamaican. But it was Margot was Margeaux. And the nurse at the hospital, was like, oh, and here's Margeaux
from Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
You did the Louisiana
Margeaux. And then I went to my wife and I was like, listen, you can have the OT, but we gotta kill this EAUX stuff. And she was on drugs at the point, so she was like, fine, whatever.
Oh, you won.
I won. No, I didn't win. I never win, but it was a compromise.
You switched. You got it switched.
Yeah.
You were really going to go with GEO. You saved that girl.
Yeah.
Because no one would ever spell that way.
No.
For the rest of life.
Yeah, exactly.
She would just have a misspelled name forever. All right, fair enough. Team we loathed.
What do you got?
I'm going Bulls. What's the point?
Really?
Yeah, what the hell's the point?
What's the point? It's a great way to start. What's the point? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Like, usually if you suck, at least you got a rookie I can watch. They finally put Buzelis in this week.
I saw him. Yeah,
they finally did.
And Wednesday night? Yeah.
And then of course they're getting trucked, but he hits a couple he hits 3 threes. He gets you 13 and 9. And then, played a little bit earlier in the week, but we finally got to see him a couple times. So it's like, at least if you're going to be bad, let me see your rookie so that I could check that out. But it's like this collection of players. And then the damnedest thing, which, watching them the other night was, how is that your bench? Like, I don't understand. We were just lauding the Warriors for their bench.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching them the other night, it's like, bro, Talen Horton-Tucker, Buzelis, Dalen Terry, Jalen Smith, Julian Phillips. I'm like, how is this your how? You don't even have, you're not good. And then these are the 5 guys that come off the bench. It's just, there's some of these teams that just suck, and you understand. Yeah. It's like Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg, Con Knappel, and like, I don't get it. I don't get it. What are you?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Are we trying to lose? Are we not? Are we trying to win?
Are we going to be good? Are we going to be bad?
What are we doing? We put on a show. We playing young people. We developing people. Like, what are we doing? Who are we building around? Who are you building around the Bulls? Like, if you look at a team like the Hornets, you're like, all right, we're building around LaMelo, Brandon Miller. We've got like a future. Even we talked about the Nets earlier this week. They've got a ton of picks. Like, all right, they're going to bring in some rookies. But like, who are the Bulls building around?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like in a couple of years, if we get a team in Las Vegas and then they were just like, all right, you can protect X number of players on your team. And this is like, it reminds me of an expansion.
Everyone's fourth best player.
Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense for them all to be together. But it's like, hey, you know what? Kobe White's good and Nikola Vucevic is good. And, Pat Williams can play and kind of like Josh Giddey. And it's like, but none of it makes sense together.
No. Yeah. They're on other teams. They're like they start, but they're like the fifth option. Do you know why I have a problem with Kobe White? I love his game. I love the leap that he took last year. Do you know I have a problem with him? Staying with the name theme today. Do you know what his first name is? Do you know what his first name is?
Silverberry.
So you're right. How'd you know? Kobe White's first name is Jacoby.
No.
And he goes by Kobe.
Ooh.
I just feel like as a Jacoby, I just feel like that's blasphemous.
Do you know
take out the first syllable?
Do you know any other Jacobys? Like
No.
Personally?
No.
All right, there's one in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He's still around.
Jacoby, he was on the Patriots, right?
Well, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. Jacoby Brissett, of course. Yeah, I always root for Jacobys. Big Jacoby fan.
Not many, though. A very rare name that I think you should stick with, and obviously you feel like he's a traitor. He's a traitor to the
Yes,
name.
exactly.
Yeah,
I just feel like if your name is Jacoby, you don't go by Jacoby. Like, what are we even doing? So I can never root for him. Team that I load this week, and I really want to talk to you about this. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox on this one. I want to talk to you about this. Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, you loathed them.
I loathe them. It was the Pistons' loss was excusable on the road. Ivy hit some big shots. Your guy, it was like okay, but then I expected them to get on the plane and go to Memphis and absolutely dominate the Grizzlies. Like I really thought this was going to be a get right game for them. I understand that Anthony Davis wasn't available. That's fine, but I really thought they would dominate the Grizzlies. I expected that to happen. And you were in the building. And
the second they announced no AD.
I get it, but they did. There was no fight. There was no energy. There was no effort. There was no nothing. They didn't go on a run. The Grizzlies, I bet I don't even have to like look up the logs. I bet the Grizzlies didn't even call a timeout the entire game. I swear to God, they didn't call a single timeout.
Well, they didn't. Their coach wasn't even there. He was Taylor Jenkins was dealing with a death in the family. Thoughts with him. But so they had Tumas is their new assistant, who is the European wonderkin, and he was coaching the team. So I don't think you know what? I don't know if they did take a timeout or not. But
probably not.
They announced at the right before the game that there was going to be no Anthony Davis and there was going to be no Rui Hachimura. And buddy, it gets bleak without them. You say no fight and whatever. What was weird about this one was that was the most expended effort and most most fight to throw a team on his back that I've seen in person from LeBron in a non-playoff game in a long, long time. Like, usually he just kind of goes through the motions. If the game's close, then I'll try to turn up in the fourth. But he has been kind of in this mode many times when I've seen him in the regular season, which is, what is the least I can do and still win this game? Which is understandable. He's in his 22nd year in the league, right? But I mean, you watch it, and it's like, hey, I'll guard the shitty guy they're putting in the corner. Let me stand over here. This dude was engaged. This guy was talking. This guy was trying to bully ball every single player on the roster. This guy was talking back and forth with Morant, and they were going at it. And he just didn't have anybody come along for the ride with him. No. It was weird. And obviously, Redick, trashed D'Lo after the game. And, after he didn't go back to him, he said, reverted back to the habits. And we've talked about this. There's no, the level of compete, I think was the choice the word he used.
If you look at it from a franchise standpoint, D'Lo is a player that you could potentially put into a trade to bring somebody in that'll help. And that's not helping his trade value. And one of the things about this team that I was looking at their roster and I was watching that game and I said, who on this roster, AD aside, can get you a stop? Who can get you a stop? Right. Name a player. Name a player in the roster that'll get you a stop.
He cleans up everything. I mean, he is not only is he leading the NBA in scoring, I feel like he's the biggest defensive deterrent there is outside of possibly a Wanyama. But I think guys will go at Wemby and they will go at Gobert. Maybe they might be even more likely to go at them, right? This is a guy that switches out on everybody on the perimeter. And again, I'm not here to besmirch other guys. I'm just saying that's how great I think Davis is as a two-way player right now, and he's truly at peak of powers because he's strong as an ox now too, right? Yeah. So you can see guys try to take somebody off the dribble, look up, and be like, okay, kick out. Right? I'm not going for this. In the absence of him, boy, it gets bleak, Jacoby.
It sure does.
Without him, they go from being a really good team that could compete with anybody with him to awful without him.
Very quickly. And so they've got the Sixers tonight, the Raptors, and then the Grizzlies again. And I think these are 3 games. I mean, in theory, those should be wins. With no Maxey, with the Raptors being the Raptors, and the Grizzlies at home. Like, those should be 3 wins, and I think they'd be lucky to get 2 of them.
In the absence of AD, they're going to be lucky to get wins.
1. Honestly. So that's the team that I loathe, and I just feel like, it was just a week ago we were excited about their start.
Yep.
They beat the Wolves, they beat the Suns, they beat the Kings, your Kings, and then
it's
they
all
lost
AD
the Suns,
contingent,
lost the Cavs.
man.
Yeah.
It's all AD contingent. It really is, because otherwise you can. I mean, I saw maybe the worst of Dalton Connect. That was crazy. He was so bad, Jacoby. So bad.
Everybody aside from LeBron was bad.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah. Reeves couldn't hit a 3. Russell wasn't trying. It was just.
No.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Hey. I knew one thing, though, when I went to that game.
What'd you know?
I said, if I get to see Yuki Kawamura versus Bronny James, this game either went unbelievably well or horribly bad.
Is there a more lovable player in the National Basketball Association than Yuki?
No.
There isn't. There just isn't. It's not even close. They got to start him.
You would, if you walked up on him, you wouldn't believe it. That's how little he is.
Really?
Yes. Shocking. It's shocking. Yes. King of Japan, bro. All right.
Love Yuki.
Player we loved.
Player you loved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I got to disassociate myself from your takes. Yeah.
Fair is fair. But I'm not letting you disassociate from this one. Apologize to Russell Westbrook.
Oh, God.
Apologize.
I will not. I will not.
50 points in 2 games. 16 of 25 from the field. The beacon of efficiency. 12 rebounds. 12 assists. Takes down the undefeated Oklahoma City Thunder. 4 of 9 from 3. His best Chavano Healed impression.
It was something.
Russell Westbrook has been put in the starting lineup. I should have known you were going to
use Westbrook.
They are 3-0 with Westbrook as a starter. And while everybody was dumping on him, saying he should go to China, saying he was done, saying Jokic is a boob for wanting him. Look, I take my opportunities when I get them. I understand I might not get this opportunity again, but for right now, this is a day. This is a day. And Russell Westbrook deserves respect and adulation.
I don't think he'll get too many opportunities. But did you see the possession? I think it was Dort was covering him and just left him all alone on the right wing for 3. Just all alone. And Russell Westbrook looked right at him, rose up, swish. And one of the big stories about the Nuggets, especially when they were struggling, was the non-Jokic minutes. And Westbrook was brought in to kind of spell that. Early on in the season, didn't look like it was working, but it worked against the Thunder. It worked. And there's a little chemistry between those two, too. Little Jokic-Westbrook chemistry.
He ain't done yet.
I am firmly in the you will not have an opportunity to do this again for the rest of the season camp. This is an anomaly. Look, Enjoy it. This is your day.
I took my opportunity to do the Hornets a couple weeks ago. Again, I'm taking my chances when I can.
The player that I loved, and again, this is a little bit chalk. It's one of the stories of the season. And it makes you wonder if things went differently last year, where this team and this player would be in our minds. And it's Darius Garland for the undefeated Cavs.
Oh.
Because remember 2 years ago, it was all-star trajectory. He's playing, and then last year was just, we all know what happened. But he just wasn't right. But he has played so well. And with him and Mitchell together, they had a lot of trouble in the non-Mitchell minutes last season. This year, with Garland in and Mitchell out, they're plus 13.9 net.
The Atkinson diet, Jacoby.
The Atkinson diet looks so good.
It does.
On Garland, who famously lost a bunch of weight because his jaw was broken. He had to drink all of his meals. But
through the wire.
Yes. Garland has it does make me, I kind of like, sometimes when a player has a season like they had last year, you sort of forget about them and they lose value in your mind. And then Garland is reminding me where he was before last season. And him and Mitchell together, I mean, are they the best backcourt in the league?
It's impossible to argue against them right now.
Yeah. I mean, I just love what I've seen from Garland and Mitchell, and it gives Mitchell an opportunity because remember the playoffs, Mitchell had to score 45 a game for them to get a win. You know what I mean? Like Mitchell just had to absolutely stand on his head for them to get a win, and now it feels like Garland can share the load with Mitchell and makes them both of them better.
Well, kudos to their management, right? Because you had a whole chorus of people saying, "Yo, these guys are all really good, but there's too much overlap." There's too much overlap, right? You can't have Mitchell and Garland, and you can't have Allen and Mobley. And they said, you know what? How about this? We like having a lot of talent. Now we're going to maybe get a different set of eyes on them. We'll get you a different coach, and we're going to see. Let's see if this guy can maximize these guys. Let's see what he can do with them. And right now, the reviews are unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's the hard part. To get them all simultaneously, that was always the question. Can you get the best of them if they're on the same teams? Right? Like that, you could probably get the best of Jared Allen if he's on if he's not standing next to Evan Mobley and vice versa. And the same thing goes with Garland and Mitchell. And at least there was some level of conviction because they re-signed all of them. They re-signed all of them. They gave them all contracts. And it got dark at the end of last season. The whole story, like Mobley never wanted them to draft him anyway. And Donovan Mitchell's going to be, is going to be wanting out. And Darius Garland, hey, wouldn't he be a good fit with Wanyama? You remember all that was taking place. And what are they going to do? Are they going to pay, Jared Allen? And so they gave all those guys their money. And just decided, all right, now let's see if we can figure this out. And so far, geez Louise, is it working?
They've got the Warriors tonight, and I'll be watching that game.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm not even going to be jumping around. I'll be watching that game. And one thing I love about Garland is, like, you get a lot of Ja Morant in your life. And when Ja finishes, he finishes at the rim. He's not shooting a ton of threes, not shooting a ton of pull-ups. He's finishing at the rim. Garland has a floater. He's just decided, he's like, I'm not going to challenge the bigs. I'm going to get by my man, and I'm going to shoot like a Tony Parker-esque floater, and he finishes with it consistently, and I love it. I love it.
You know who he reminds me of sometimes when I'm watching him, probably the most, is Kyrie.
Ooh, that's a lot of praise for Garland.
He does. That's who he reminds me of. I'm serious. Because he gets this flare up and he gets this, like, you can see when the same way, and this is all I'm saying, the same way Kyrie starts, like, you can see, like, oh, it's almost like the guy dribbling up. I don't know if you saw, we're watching the game the other night, but he did almost like the put, where you everybody does it, where you push the ball out
thing.
and then the backspin down, whatever.
Chris
it's
Paul
like
does it all the time on pick and rolls.
Like I'm playing at the park or something. But he was just doing his dribble. You can see them kind of get their confidence up where it feels like everything's going to be going their way, and I'm just going to start breaking off everybody.
All right, so now I'm with you. I wasn't with you because I was talking about his floater. And I was like, he doesn't have the finishing package that Kyrie does because no one does. But it's the avalanche feel.
Yes.
The sort of avalanche knee of it where it's like, oh, we got one bucket, and then, now he's feeling a little confident. Now he's got a little bit of a little pep in his step.
And then he looks like the guy at the park.
And then it's an avalanche where it's just like, oh, Garland's having one of those games. He had that game against the Knicks where it's just an absolute avalanche where it starts with one little pebble, hits another pebble, starts to build a little bit, the pebble turns into a rock turns into a boulder. Next thing you know, an avalanche, he scored 39 on you, you lose by 20. Darius Garland's my guy this week.
The player I loathed. Jason Tatum.
What? No, loathe. It's loathe. It's the one you don't like this week. Do you understand the assignment?
I totally understand the assignment.
Jason Tatum.
I can't be more annoyed with him doing the I don't care act. I really can't. I can't. The whole crowd is booing. We've all been looking forward to this. Steve Kerr is public enemy number one. They won the gold medal, and all anybody talked about was little Jason not getting to play. That's all anybody talked about throughout the entire damn Olympics. The topic, they would beat the crap out of someone, and everybody was talking about Jason Tatum not playing. So I went through this all summer. This is what's going on. Finally, the moment. Bro, he's going to try to drop 75 on this dude. You're not going to play me in the Olympics? You going to disrespect me in the Olympics? Not only do they get beat, it's not like he had a bad game, but then he's like, revenge? No, it wasn't even on. This is the exact quote. It wasn't on my mind.
Oh, come on.
Just another Wednesday, another game, another opportunity to come in and try to be the best player I can be. Another day I can just try to get away. I mean, the uncontrollable vomit that I had as someone who does hold grudges and can be super petty. This annoys me to no end because I don't believe it. He even then went on and it was like this really long quote and he ended up getting like real self-reflective and he even then threw in this bizarre F word to try to make it. Here, I'll read it to you. That's part of my job. That's what I've been dealing with my entire career. People want me to be louder. People want me to be mean or whatever. One thing about Jason, third person.
No, he didn't do that. No, he didn't do that.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
One thing about Jason, I'm going to keep reading that until you just die.
I can't take it.
One thing about Jason, I'm always going to do what the F I want to do and approach things the way I want to approach it and what I feel is sincere to who I am as a person. I mean, anybody can go look up. They won the title, and he was so sincere to self as a person. He imitated KG. He imitated Steph. He literally.
I forgot about that.
He cosplayed everybody in the world. There's nobody less authentic. There's nobody. He cosplayed every title winner ever.
I forgot about that.
And it's like, oh, if there's one thing you know about Jason, it's I'm myself. There's nobody more authentic than me. I don't give an F what anybody says. In fact, I'm the beacon of authenticity. And it's like, are you serious?
I'm surprised when he won the title, he didn't say, how about them Cowboys?
And it's like, everybody cared. Everybody cared that you didn't play. And so now when everybody asks you about you not playing, like Joe Mazzulla, flew to France to make sure you were okay.
Yeah.
Like, stop acting like this wasn't a big deal. Like, this wasn't what everybody in the world talked about all summer. Was that, yeah, cool. The United States won the gold medal, but Jason Tatum didn't play. Can you believe Steve Kerr? And then your whole crowd was like on your side, booing the hell out of him. And then he's like, just another Wednesday
Just
for
another
me.
Wednesday night.
Boo! I boo you! Boo!
Oh, Verno.
It's for sure not another Wednesday. It was literally something I had circled. And one thing, the one thing I hate as a fan, it always drives me crazy when I feel like I care more than you, the guy I'm rooting for, right? Every year I go to preseason basketball and I leave at halftime because I said, I've been doing this for 20 years and every time I forget, they don't care about the outcome. So why do I care about the outcome? I'm not even watching this crap. And if I feel like it hurt me more or it, than it did you when you lose, that's just being a demented fan. I get it. It's stupid that I care so much, but that's what fandom is. And then for this all to happen, and then the message is basically, I didn't really care about that. Like, bro, you for sure care about it. Stop. And then you tell me you don't care about it, and that's authenticity. Piss on my head and tell me it's raining.
Verno, you really landed that plane. It's a great job by you. I'm impressed. I'm just proud to be a bystander for that. Great job by you. I want to make myself very clear about the player that I loathe this week.
Be careful.
I think that this player is going to be a multiple MVP winner. I think this player will one day be considered the best basketball player on the planet. But I could not be more frustrated. I could not be more disgusted at watching Victor Wanyama play basketball this season. I cannot. I am disgusted by it every single
You're
time.
Not disgusted.
I am. I really am. I've talked about it before. It's the guy is legitimately 7'6", and he shoots 3-point shots. He's shooting 22% from three. This is his 3-point numbers this season. 1 for 8, 2 for 5. That was a great game for him. 1 for 5, 0 for 3, 4 for 13, 1 for 7, 2 for 9, 1 for 6, 2 for 6. 45% of the shots that he takes are 3-point shots, and he's shooting 22%. So I did a little more research. Last year, the average distance of his shots was 13 feet. This year, 16 feet. Last year, the percentage of shots that he took that were 3-point attempts, 33%. This year, 45%. Why is Victor Wembanyama shooting so many threes and missing so many threes? And they're not catch and shoot threes. They're not even in the flow of the offense. He just pulls up. And I hope that Popovich gets back together and gets right. But I really felt like under the guidance of Greg Popovich and Chris Paul, this would be the year where he finds his way, he finds his place, he finds his role, he finds his game. He doesn't have a go-to move. He doesn't have a package. All he does is pull up threes and rim runs. And I'm not asking them, they don't have to post him up like he's Akeem Olajuwon, but he has so much potential. To watch him play this way is very frustrating for me as someone who wants to see this unicorn be a unicorn. And right now, I'm just watching him miss threes and take bad shots.
I feel like this is another year where I have been reminded that in many cases, we were trained for so many years to believe in like the second year leap. And what's happening more often than not is that because guys now that are drafted very highly are getting in the lineup quickly, that what you are seeing is that they're playing a lot of minutes that first year, and that first year they get to take the league by storm, and nobody knows anything about them. And that second year, there's the book on them already. Now we've got a scouting report on you, and this is when you have to figure it out. And then the third year is when these guys really start popping off. I really am starting to believe this, that now the guys that are getting minutes that we get so excited about as rookies, that a lot of times when they come back that next year, it's like all these teams now have the scouting report. They all have, we've got a full year of scouting on you, and now you've got to figure out, okay, like I say this as someone who watched Morant take the league by storm and win Rookie of the Year, and then guess what happened? The next year when I'll try to give you an example. The next year, when somebody with instead of you played the Philadelphia 76ers, like now, Kyle Lowry or or Tyrese Maxey, they're not guarding you anymore. Kelly Oubre's guarding you now, right? You're going to go play Minnesota. You don't get to face Mike Conley anymore. Anthony Edwards is guarding you now, right? And so they say, okay, here's the guy that now, because you're not really on that chalkboard in the same way. And then the second year, it's like, okay, here's what we're going to, and he's got figuring out to do. But I do think that that's why we see sometimes a little bit of a downtick, and the great ones will figure it out. But
well, he got to figure it out.
I think by that second year, it's like, take away this, take away this, take away this. Now what are you going to do? And what he's doing is obviously settling.
Okay.
Settling.
All right, Verno, let me ask you a question then. Why does he have 2 games with 10 rebounds? He has 2 games with 10 rebounds. He gets 6 rebounds, like, routinely.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I would say the rebound numbers for many of these guys are not, especially the ones that play outside. So a lot of times you're far away from the basket on offense, so you're not getting nearly
offense.
You're not catching that many.
He shouldn't be.
And so many you look at the guys that are like getting a ton of rebounds. It's generally now these drop coverage guys. It's the Goberts, it's the Drummonds, it's the Sabonises, it's guys that are always just right around the basket. Now you could argue you should just have him standing right around the basket all the time.
That's what he's good at.
Yeah, I got you. But there's a lot of them that don't rebound nearly as much as you would think. Did
you see the Jeremy Grant stuff with Wembanyama yesterday?
I did not.
So it's a out of bounds play on the baseline, and before it's inbounded, Jeremy Grant pushes him and he flops like a soccer player, falls on the ground.
Oh no,
gets the foul call.
You hated this.
And then he does it again. In the same play, gets a little push from Jeremy Grant and falls on the ground. I'm not saying that Victor Wembanyama is a bad basketball player. I'm not saying that he's not going to be one of the best players we've ever witnessed.
You called him Lose Benyama.
But he's not contributing to winning. I have not seen him in the fourth quarter say, I got this season. Once.
Yeah, look, and I got to be fair. The beginning of the season, we're saying, is this the year he takes that leap?
He's in the MVP conversation.
Top 5, top 10 player in the league. Right.
What does he look like? What's he look like to you now? In the MVP voting, where is he? 100? 200? Seriously. If MVP voting.
He's behind J Huff.
Yeah, he is.
So wherever you got him, you got to put him behind Huff.
Right around Yuki Wembanyama. Frustrates me. Let's do something, Victor. Don't get pushed over.
Thing we loved this week. The thing I loved Paul George getting booed and him calling. I'm just gonna say booing. So there's 2 booings.
I like this. So you call an audible on yourself.
Yeah. So you got Paul George and him calling it stupid that he was getting booed. And then you have Trae Young, who's getting booed by the remaining Knicks fans, and he tells them to get their ass home after the Knicks game. I'm so pro booing. I loved the booing. Again, this is what made me angry at Tatum. The booing at Steve Kerr. Love it. The booing at Paul George and then him calling it stupid.
I love it. I love Verno being pro booing.
I love it. I think it's so funny. And I think that this is what you're supposed to do if you're a fan. So they boo Paul George, and he's like, "This is stupid. I wanted to be here, whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, they don't like you anymore." And frankly, I think Paul George gets booed everywhere. He has pulled off this unbelievable, Hall of Fame career where Indiana booed him, Oklahoma City booed him, the Clippers booed. He's all-time booed.
Interesting.
All-time booed. Even Houston fans still love James Harden. Right? They still love him, and they'll always love him. Nobody loves Paul George. Nobody.
It's always weird. Remember Brandon Miller was like, Paul George is the greatest player of all time. Like, the younger generation loves Paul George.
I know.
It's a very strange phenomenon that I can't relate to.
He's smooth. He's 6'10". I always thought it was weird a guy that didn't win at a super high level, and frankly has never given me much of an inclination that he cares deeply whether he wins or loses. You know what I mean? He's just kind of I like guys that are feisty. I like guys that care. And then him getting booed and then him saying it's stupid. To me, that was sports perfection.
Perfection.
Yes. A guy
booing Paul George is sports perfection.
No, and then his reaction, which is, that's stupid. I wanted to be here. Why are you booing me? But that's the point. That's the point. It doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter if you wanted to be here. Boo! Boo!
What he should have said.
Remind me of how bad this has gone. You remind me of the position that we're in. You're a constant reminder of us being the friggin' Clippers. And when I see you, you remind me that we're the Clippers. And boo, boo, boo.
They need to boo Kawhi. You're booing Paul George. But you're going to cheer Kawhi when he gets there?
Right.
You're going to boo Paul George, but you love Kawhi Leonard. Huh. Huh.
Yeah, I love it, though. Yes. The more booing, the better.
Kerr got booed. The Trae Young thing. The relationship between Knicks fans and Trae Young is such a mutually beneficial relationship.
I love it.
Because the Knicks they've got a target for their hatred. Everybody hates Trae Young in New York City. It's wonderful. And Trae Young plays into it. Trae Young loves being the villain. It works so perfectly.
I don't think that this is a plausible scenario for any other guy that is playing at home. That game was in Atlanta.
But the Knicks fans in Miami and Atlanta are full of a bunch of ex-New Yorkers. So there's always going to be a loud Knicks contention
there. The idea that you, on a post game, are responding to fans of another team that are like, boo, go to hell, is amazing to me.
They got waxed, too. You got waxed by the Hawks, and you're still there as a Knicks fan booing Trae Young after the games.
Oh, what are you doing? Can we mention real quickly, because you and I, this is a horrible oversight. Horrible oversight.
What? We made a mistake?
Yeah, because
I blame Jesse, the producer. Whatever you're about to say, I blame Jesse.
No, he doesn't know. We were texting about this the other night, and then we've gone this far into the show and did not mention that the number 1 pick popped off. You were texting me the whole night about Risa Shea.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we didn't put him in anything.
He's not in here at all.
I got it, but I mean, that was a moment where he had 30 plus, and it was like, hold on now.
Wait
Is this
a second.
the number one pick?
Because no one was excited about this year's draft. Literally, it was like, can we find a rotation player in the lottery? That's what people were saying going into the draft. And no one was excited about Sarr. No one's excited about Reese-Shea. Reese-Shea looked like a number one pick in that game. He looked like a number one pick. He was playing with confidence. He was hitting threes. He was cutting. He was driving. He was assisting.
You liked him.
He was playing defense. I was just shocked more than anything. I was like, look at this. This is like his 8th game in the league. Killing it.
30 plus great. Early is 30 plus early is quick.
He looked good. Good.
And you
Victor
know what?
Wanyama could never.
I'm gonna see Sarr in person tonight. So I'll be able to tell you
Get
about
excited.
Sarr.
Get excited.
I mean, I'm gonna have to. Look, I'm planning on leaving my house early just so I don't have to fight the mobs that are.
You want to see Sarr's warm up?
No,
Steph Curry.
All right, the thing that you loved.
Thing that I loved. One thing, like honorable mention here, is I've always been a LaMelo Ball guy. I love LaMelo Ball, right? But I just want to say this. When you're watching LaMelo Ball, ask yourself this question. Does anyone in the history of the National Basketball Association dribble between their legs more than LaMelo Ball? Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Little homework for all the Mismatch listeners. When you're watching the Hornets, just watch how often, just the quantity of times that he dribbles between his legs every possession.
Unnecessary.
It's wild.
You think it's unnecessary?
Oh, absolutely. It's just his like natural default setting. He's constantly dribbling between his legs, and I love it. But that's not what I love. I love, and I have some notes. I love NBA Crunch Time.
Oh,
NBA Crunch Time. See, you've told the story before about you and your son's got his phone out and he's cruising around the league and he'll tell you if there's a close game or if something's happening. And then you go tune into that one. And that's it's a very touching story. It's a great bonding moment between you and your son. That's great. Well, guess what? My son doesn't give a shit about NBA basketball. So I don't have like a little assistant sitting next to me telling me that, the Bucks and the Raptors are going to overtime. I don't have that. But if you have League Pass, when they have nights like they had on Monday and Wednesday, when they're basically every team in the league played, they have NBA Crunch Time, which is their answer to Red Zone.
Yep.
And
pop around.
It's because the thing is we all got rid of our cable subscriptions. We pay more now, but even just to change a game with the League Pass app on your TV, it takes like 3 clicks to get where you're going. So you lose like 10 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I lost a significant amount of
lose the last shot.
The Thunder Nuggets game. I lost because I was watching another game that was close at the end.
And I got to choose
up at the same time.
Broadcast.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like it takes too many clicks. But Crunch Time they just whip around all of the games. And they had that stagger start night on Monday. It was fantastic. Crunch Time is an absolutely great product, but I do have some notes.
Well, here's the deal. Amazon needs to steal this because we don't know the future of NBA TV. So make this a Prime thing or make this something that's accessible to everybody and where they're bouncing around, every night, because it's not every night.
I was lucky enough to be invited by one of our colleagues, a gentleman goes by the moniker of the Podfather, to a Knicks game last year. And it was in a suite because he's fancy. And some of the people that worked at the NBA Entertainment were there. And I may or may not have accosted them all night long. And I may or may not have hard pitched myself as the host of Crunch Time moving forward. And I've gotten no follow-up calls. None. No follow-up emails. My agent didn't hear anything. Just crickets. Just crickets ever since that night. I might have been a little too aggressive.
I think you probably were.
I'm a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
But I love the product. I love Crunch Time. I love it because, again, like I missed the Caruso foul on Jokic.
Yep.
Because I was watching, there's another game that's ending at the exact same time going down to the wire. And just to switch games on the app, it does take you like 10 seconds and 3 clicks. And I've got bad Wi-Fi at my house, so sometimes I get the spinning wheel, the little basketball wheel. And crunch time, you just say right there, they go quad box, they go 2 box, they go in and out of the broadcast really well. I absolutely love NBA crunch time. They should have it every single night. I think there's some rights issues with the regional sports networks. I'm going to have to get too nerdy about like media or whatever. But I think that the future of a whip around NBA nightly show is how I will be watching basketball going forward. I think that's the future of sort of broadcasting and league pass.
I
Crunch
love it.
time.
The
Get
thing
crunched.
that I loathed, outside of all the injuries this week, let me just add this. So we have a way of always like, hey, here's all this cool stuff. Like we got a lot of praise for doing our positive pod earlier in the week because,
Yeah.
it's always negative, everything, right? It's like, okay, NBA season just started. Yeah, it stinks that we have these injuries, but look at this cool story that is the Cavs. Look at this cool story that is the Warriors. Look at this cool story that is Westbrook in the starting lineup now in Denver, and they've won a couple. And like, look at what's going on in Oklahoma City, and on and on and on and on. Right. And then, so I'm always like, that's always what I'm keeping up with. And it's like the season just started, whatever. And then, you scroll through and it's like, then earlier this week, this is the thing I loathe, becomes this big headline on all the NBA sites and all the news sites that I check. Steph Curry to meet with Adam Silver on All-Star Game. And I'm like, stop.
This comes from stupid. This comes from Halliburton talking to Barack Obama, and Barack Obama's like, you guys need to try in this All-Star game. And then here we are.
And the All-Star game is in Golden State. So it's like, now here's Steph Curry. Oh, yeah, I want to make sure it's great, too. Like, now that we're in so nobody, I guess, he wasn't able to meet with Lauri Markkanen last year to make sure the Utah one was cool. Right? It's like, oh, now we're in Steph Curry's town. Now we need to really, you guys all made an absolute mockery of this thing last year. But now Steph Curry and Adam Silver are going to have a meeting of the minds. The season just started. It's all exciting. And then here it is. It's like, hey, let us remind you how shitty All-Star Weekend was.
It was bad last year.
Horrendous. I was there.
Bad. It was bad.
I was there. Horrendous. Bad. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I missed last year. What was last year? I went Salt Lake City.
Chicago.
No, Chicago wasn't last year because I went to that one too.
Oh, that was 2 years ago.
Where was last year? It was Indiana. That's where it was. Because they were going to do the home of basketball and all this stuff, right? And so anyways, yeah, I missed last year. I missed Indiana, but 2 years ago was Salt Lake City. Anyways, I don't understand. Like, I'm not ready to talk about what we need to do about the All-Star game. Like, Adam Silver is always like, we need more focus on the game, not just transactions, not just stuff that happens off the court. He wishes people talked about the games and the stuff going on with the teams more. And we constantly have to get sidetracked, and sometimes it's like totally preventable. Like, now we got this story about like, hey, what are they going to do for the All-Star game? And then now we get this whole round of what should they do about the All-Star game? Should they do it this way? Should they do it this way? Should they increase the payout? What would get guys to give a shit? And it's like, oh my God, we just started. Not yet. I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with caring about them caring about the All-Star game because the guy stood up in front of everybody and said, please care this year. And then they just flung feces at his head. He's like sitting in the stands next to every TV exec in the world. And they just collectively threw feces at his head. And so now I'm supposed to care like, hey, what are they going to do to fix the All-Star game? Enough.
You know what, Verno? I don't have a fix for the All-Star game. I don't have it. What are you going to do? Kidnap everyone's family? We're like, what are you going to do? It's also at the end of a long weekend.
Dude, the answer is care. Unless LeBron and Steph and all these guys care, none of the young guys are going to care. If LeBron cares and if Steph cares, that when Kobe, was gone and those guys started filtering out that age of the last guys that actually cared, then this group doesn't care. And unless you can make the young guys on the team will always follow suit. So unless you want to tell me these guys are going to care, and you can't give them more money. Hell, they make $100
the more
billion.
Money part that's not doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't even want to talk about this because that's how much I loathe the fact that it's already come back up.
So here's one thing I loathe. I'm a LeBron James fan. I've been a LeBron James fan for a long time. I like LeBron James.
Boo!
He's a great basketball player. My LeBron James story is when I was working on the ESPY Awards in the year 2001, I want to say. 2000. I was a guy who put together like the clip reels, the highlight reels for the nomination packages. And what was it called? Breakthrough Athlete. One of LeBron James was nominated. So I had to go get all the highlights for LeBron James. I didn't watch the games when he was in high school. So I had to watch the games and pick the highlights. And I was just like, God, this guy's really good at basketball. It was the no-look passes. It was just I was like, this guy's going to be good. Love LeBron James. But the thing I loathe this week is, again, I'm going back to the positive negative thing, is everybody shitting on Bronny James and Bronny James's experience. It just feels to me like everyone's piling on. Guess what? He's not that good at basketball. Guess what? He probably shouldn't have been drafted where he was drafted. Guess what? He probably should be in the G League. He probably shouldn't be on the Lakers. And he's going to go back to the G League now, just as we predicted. But what I loathe this week is the piling on and everyone just talking about what Bronny James isn't all the time, instead of letting him be a 19-year-old basketball player, developing his skills, and maybe one day being a rotational NBA player. That's what I loathe this week. And I'm so excited to not talk about Bronny James for months while he scores 6 points a game for the South Bay Lakers.
He is going to be the only South Bay Laker to pull up in a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Yes. I like Bronny James. I don't think he's great at basketball, but I think he could develop into something. And I just hate the way that people just use it as an opportunity to pile on. He's just a kid.
You think it's gone too far?
It's gone too far. I'm guilty of it myself. I make fun of Bronny James myself. Because when you watch him play an NBA game, it looks like somebody pulled somebody out of the stands. It really does.
Did Rich Paul call you?
No.
Said, hey, man, let up.
No.
You're like, not only will I let up, I'm going to go on the Mismatch and tell everybody else to let up.
No.
Now, can you get me those Adele tickets?
Yeah. A brief Rich Paul story. And he came on a show that I was on, and it was remote. So, this isn't his fault. It was remote. So he's just in a room by himself. And we would ask him a question. And I was on a half-an-hour show at the time. Ask him one question, and he would go for 9 minutes. And you can't really interrupt him because it's remote.
Right. Okay.
And then we ask him a second question, he goes for 10 minutes. And I don't know what it was. It was just I think it's just alone in a room. He's just
you just
opining.
Cut straight to break.
It was like a TED Talk. It wasn't live, so we had to edit it down. But at the time, I was just I'm like, what, is he still talking? I could have taken a nap.
I wish you guys would have been live. The best is when they have to. You watch this when they do the Manning cast, and they'll ask somebody a question, and then the big broadcast will go to break in the back. And they're like, oh, hey, we'll be right back. We'll be right back. They still haven't figured that out. Be like, oh, okay, hey, hold that phone, Bill. And then they just go straight to
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you watched the Manning cast.
I love it.
Really?
Oh, not love.
Oh, so I do
with the first half of the games, they have Belichick.
Let me tell you something.
I think it is the best.
Okay.
The best. It is I would give anything. The NBA tried something like this.
Yeah, they did. Jamal Crawford and.
But if you could ever find, something like it, Chris Paul would be amazing at this because he just the way he views a basketball game the same way Peyton Manning views a football game, right? But their level of critique paired with their level of passion, paired with his level of frustration on the decisions that teams are making offensively and defensively, and then explaining, they have pulled off they are in my living room. I'm getting to watch football with them.
Interesting.
Oh, I think it's
do you know what the Manning cast is to me? Pistachio ice cream.
No. Absolutely
Let me
not.
explain to you why.
No.
Pistachio ice cream is good. However, it's always next to cookies and cream. It's next to Rocky Road. It's a good on its own,
Bro,
but there's just a better opportunity. There's a better option next to it. I would rather watch the broadcast than watch Peyton and Eli Manning talk about the broadcast.
If you don't shut your Colin Cowherd ass up.
Pistachio ice cream.
That is the most Colin Cowherd taste.
It's pistachio ice cream.
And, you know, cookies and cream is next to it.
It's right there.
Did you ever work with him? Were you the one feeding him those all those years?
No. I did work with Colin Cowherd, though. Shout out to Colin.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Did you work with him? You were like, you know what? Here's the analogy for today. Right? It'll be like, you know.
Let me tell you why Matt Stafford is a goldfish.
Right.
Reliable.
I want a piranha. I want a piranha.
There you go.
I want a piranha.
Pistachio ice cream.
I couldn't disagree more.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah,
you're wrong.
Manning cast forever. I love it. All right. It's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez. As always, Jacoby, I'll talk to you next week.